Well, with just 2 weeks until Trump's next tariffs do hit, Prime Minister Mark Carney is still working to secure a beneficial deal for Canada.
We're engaged in those negotiations to look to find a mutually beneficial solution, and we're only going to accept a solution that works for Canadians. We're going to focus now on building towards an agreement if an agreement is possible.
But while Trump's tariffs aim to harm Canada's economy, they're also hurting U.S. states who rely on Canadians. StatCan is reporting Canadians spent $3.5 billion less on travel to the United States in 2025 compared to the year before. And Canadians also made 7.1 million fewer trips across the border last year. U.S. states are feeling the pinch of losing Canadian tourists, including Vermont, who says its tourism has decreased by 40%. Peter Welch is a Democratic senator for Vermont. Sir, thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate it. We mentioned there that 40% drop-off in tourism to Vermont. How much of that is directly tied to Canadians not traveling to your state?
Basically 100%. I mean, that's what our main tourism is the Canadians. And it's two things. One, obviously, an enormous economic hit to us on tourism, but we also you're our biggest trading partner by far. That's true for 34 states in the U.S., but we export $600 million to Canada, $2 billion come in from Canada, and that helps us in our own manufacturing. But, you know, there's another part of this that's really heartbreaking for us in Vermont. It's the emotional rupture. We have many of our bed and breakfast, our ski areas, they look forward to Canadian families coming back. And many of them would always come on a certain holiday. And there is a lot of joy that the hospitality industry has in having ongoing relationships with Canadian visitors. We get it why you're not coming. But we want you to know we miss you, and we're really upset at what the president's doing to make the wonderful relationship we've had over the decades. It's impaired.
You know, I used to live in Quebec, so I'd ski at Jay Peak. I spent a lot of time in your state, and I wonder, when you look at the damage that's been done with the rhetoric, with the threats, with the tariffs, how quickly do you think, let's say a deal is done and trade peace is arrived at, how confident are you that Canadian tourism will resume as it was before all of this?
You know, it'll take a while because, frankly, I don't think Canadians trust that President Trump has a lot of respect for Canada, and understandably so. So we might get a trade deal, but where there's been this emotional rupture, that takes a lot of time to heal. And now we're going to have a new president at some point, and I think whoever that is, Republican or Democrat, will go back to the wonderful supportive ways that we've been. But your prime minister did use the right word. It's a rupture. You know, what has happened now is that it's not just an insult directed towards Canada by the president. There's been a real disruption in the relationships, and people have had to make adjustments. So it'll take some time. But what I can say with 100% certainty is that all of us in Vermont, including Governor Scott, we want to have restored as quickly and as warmly as possible our very close business and economic and emotional connection to Canadians.
I don't know if you know this, but you went slightly viral in Canada for your exchange with Jameson Greer about the work his department has done and the rhetoric his boss has made toward Canada. When you talk to the trade representative or when you talk to members of the administration about the damage you see being done to American workers, American businesses, American communities, what do they say to you?
You know, basically, they don't even throw their hands up. I mean, the reality here, and you know it, is that the president is going to do what he's going to do, and he's going to say what he's going to say, and there's no rhyme or reason to it. You know, Greer is the trade representative, and if it were left to his devices, we'd be having negotiations, and they might be difficult, but they wouldn't be insulting. So the president is not within the control of anybody that works for him. He controls them, and they're pretty intimidated by him. That's the reality. So, some of my colleagues, including Kevin Cramer is a good example. He's on the northern border. He's very close to Trump, but he really would say all the things about Canada that I just said. So I know people like him encourage the president to be cordial, but Trump is Trump, and he's kind of an equal opportunity insulter of people and country.
You say that nobody can control him, and yet on matters of trade, Congress is supposed to control a lot more than it's been controlling. What do members of Congress need to do to try to rein back in matters like tariffs and trade policy?
It's pretty simple. We got to do our job. I mean, basically, the biggest lament I have about being in the Senate right now is that we need Republicans to help us assert our Article 1 authority. We, the Congress, are in charge of tariffs. And what's happened is the president has seized that authority, and we could take it back, but it would take affirmative action on the part of Republicans and Democrats, where it wasn't about whether we agreed or disagreed with the president's tariffs. It would be about us standing up that it's our responsibility to decide whether to tax the American citizens or not. That's under our Constitution. But the reality is the Democrats are in opposition, but we can't get a majority without several Republicans. And the reality there is that they're intimidated by President Trump. There's real electoral consequences with them, especially in primaries.
And yet, we're, whatever it is, 88, 89 days from the midterms. Once we get past that, and there's a new Congress in whatever form it takes, do you expect to see your Senate and House colleagues take a more affirmative stance towards regaining or reining in the responsibility for tariffs?
We'd have to have a majority. I mean, the Republican Party is under the thumb of the president. That's
even after the midterms, you think?
Well, I think he does control them, but here's what will be different. If we have a majority here, we'll have the votes. But the second thing is if we win, it's going to be an indication that a lot of folks who liked the idea of Trump and some of his policies are feeling the pain of the reality of these tariffs. So keep in mind, you and I are talking about the rupture in the relationships between us and your country. But the bottom line here is these tariffs are like brutal on Midwest farmers. They're brutal on North Dakota. And so folks who really did vote for President Trump and had no idea that when he got in, he was actually going to do these tariffs, which in effect are taxes on our farmers in particular and manufacturers. It's jobs, it's inflation, it's expense. So I think that'll be tempering for all of us really, that, hey, the American voter is feeling the pain of this. It's not just an abstract thing, and it's not just about insults. It's about the bottom line and ability to pay your bills at the end of the month.
I think the concern here is that even if they get some kind of a deal to get trade peace, there are real questions about whether the Trump administration will abide by such a deal or will just continue to make demands even after it. What's your advice to the Canadian delegation in Washington this week trying to reach some kind of a deal?
I think we should be full speed ahead doing everything we can in good faith. But I do think that it's a fair concern as to whether anything that we agree to is something that Trump will honor. I mean, that is his MO, is that he makes demands, reaches an agreement, and then finds a way to say it's not working out. I mean, we're seeing that in very tragic ways in what's going on in Iran with that war. So, Trump is volatile, and we all know that. But I think all of us have to do the best we can in good faith with our counterparts. And then we're going to have to adjust to whatever it is the president may do. But if we get a legally enforceable agreement, I think that's a really good thing.
I think a lot of us are glad to hear it. U.S. Senator Peter Welch, thank you for this. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.